Welcome to Voyage Daily Tech, the most important news personalized for you every day, supported by Voyage.com.
After listening to today's news, you'll know. First, India's 8-minute delivery boom, growing 40% annually, is built on an unprofitable model and grueling 400 6-hour work months for drivers. We'll explore how this high-growth, high-burn model contrasts with Western gig economies and what it signals for the future of super apps. Second, Elon Musk's vision to merge SpaceX and XAI into a $1 trillion keiretsu, with Tesla faces massive shareholder and valuation hurdles. We'll analyse why this proposed mega merger triggers conflicts of interest and how it could create a private corporation with nation-state level power. Third, Iran's regime uses its longest ever internet kill switch to hide state violence, but citizens fight back with Starlink and VPNs. In this episode, we'll break down how Starlink challenges state control and why new tech like C2PA is crucial for fighting AI-powered disinformation. Fourth, Oracle's $50 billion debt-fueled plan to become the Switzerland of AI spooks investors amid fears of an industry-wide overbuild. So we'll discuss why this massive bet creates extreme customer concentration risk and what it signals for the profitability of the AI infrastructure gold rush. Fifth, Meta abandons the VR fitness app Supernatural after fighting regulators to acquire it, betraying a loyal user base and proving FTC fears correct. This discussion will reveal how this acqui neglect highlights the risks of digital landlordship and what it means for users who depend on corporate platforms. Picture this. To earn a bonus, one delivery driver in India worked 406 hours in a single month. That's more than 1,000 deliveries. This is the human engine behind the country's ultra-fast delivery boom. In major Indian cities, the impossible is now routine. Imagine running out of tomatoes while cooking and having them show up at your door just 8 minutes later. This isn't a futuristic dream. It's a daily reality powered by companies like Blinkit and Swiggy. And the numbers speak for themselves. A Bain & Company report predicts India's quick commerce market will grow by over 40% every single year until 2030. The drivers, high order density in cities and lower labour costs. It's a perfect storm for rapid growth. The secret isn't bigger supermarkets, it's a network of dark stores. These are small, hidden warehouses packed into residential neighbourhoods designed for one thing: speed. Inside, workers operate like a pit crew, picking and packing an entire order in, quote, under a minute. Now, this boom has created a brand new, highly competitive real estate market for these micro warehouses. Landlords are converting old shops and ground floor spaces into dark stores, earning 30 to 40% higher rent than they would from traditional businesses. The number of these dark stores is expected to nearly triple to 7,500 by 2030. This relentless pace is fueled by an algorithm. For a 16-minute delivery, a driver might earn just 31 rupees, the equivalent of about 30 US cents. Their income depends on completing as many orders as possible to unlock streak incentives. The system is brutal. One driver was just 2 days away from a 5,000 rupee bonus when his phone was stolen. He couldn't log in, and his entire streak was instantly erased. These algorithms create intense psychological pressure. Delays or declining orders can lead to penalties, and research shows just how precarious this is. One report found that only 36% of gig workers in India are considered financially resilient. That means the vast majority are living on the edge, completely dependent on the next order. And the most stunning part, the companies fueling this war for speed are reportedly still losing money. Intense competition forces them to chase customers with faster promises and bigger discounts, even if it's not profitable. So what's the long-term plan? It's not just a race to be the fastest. The strategy here is different from failed Western models. Companies like Zomato, which owns Blinkit, are integrating quick commerce into a larger super app ecosystem. The goal is to become the one-stop shop for everything food, groceries, services, locking in customers, and eventually finding a path to profitability by dominating the market. It's a system that has turned a convenience into a daily habit. As one user admitted, "I've grown so used to it that we forget it is a rare privilege and that there is human labour behind it." While some customers say they're willing to wait longer, the system itself shows no signs of slowing down. For now, the speed of India's cities is still being measured in minutes and carried on the backs of workers who have little choice but to keep moving. Speaking of ambitious tech ventures, Elon Musk is reportedly making moves to launch data centers in space. This isn't science fiction. It's a strategic play being paved by a potential merger between two of his private companies, SpaceX and XAI. putting data centers in space is an engineering nightmare. In the vacuum of space, you can't use fans to cool things down. Heat has nowhere to go. So these power-hungry data centers would need massive, complex radiator systems just to keep from melting. On top of that, the computer chips, the GPUs, are extremely vulnerable to cosmic radiation, which can cause errors or fry them completely. This requires expensive radiation-hardened processors like the kind used on Mars rovers. It's an incredibly hostile environment for the very technology he wants to put there. As private entities, combining the rocket company with the AI firm is a relatively straightforward path, and the numbers involved are staggering. XAI recently raised $20 billion, blowing past its $15 billion target at a valuation of $230 billion. Its potential partner, SpaceX, is reportedly eyeing an IPO that could value it at over $1 trillion. A while back, we broke down how private trades jumped SpaceX's value from roughly 400 to 800 billion on the strength of that 1 to 2 punch dominant launch plus a fast-scaling Starlink subscription business. Today's over $1 trillion talk is the logical extension of that same thesis, now tied to an XAI tie-up. If that was just the appetizer, the main course is just being served. The real endgame that has investors buzzing is the creation of a unified Musk Incorporated by merging everything with the publicly traded giant Tesla. And that's where the dream collides with a wall of complications. We're looking at the creation of a modern American keiretsu, a type of highly integrated business group, similar to what we've seen with giants like Samsung in South Korea or Mitsubishi in Japan. In those models, a web of companies works together, sharing resources and strategy. The key difference here is that instead of a network of cross-shareholding companies, this entire empire would be centralized under one person's leadership. This is a very different approach from, say, Google's parent company Alphabet, which keeps its riskier other bets financially separate from its core business. And continuing our last discussion, remember our framing that grouping SpaceX with frontier AI outfits is like apples and spaceships. Hard tech infrastructure with tangible revenue behaves very differently than software-first AI bets. Unlike a private deal, merging with Tesla, a company with a market cap over $1.4 trillion, would require a thorny shareholder approval process. The core conflict is valuation. One analyst warns that if the valuations of the private companies are seen as extremely high, the deal will be viewed as dilutive to Tesla shareholders. And if SpaceX does go public as part of this broader strategy, it will also run headlong into the quarterly profit grind we talked about before, adding even more pressure to keep valuations in line with public market expectations. There's a ghost from Tesla's past that makes this even more complicated. We've seen this movie before. In 2016, Tesla acquired SolarCity, a struggling company where Musk was also chairman and the largest shareholder. That deal led to a massive lawsuit from shareholders who claimed Musk essentially forced Tesla to bail out his other investment. While a court eventually ruled in his favor, it highlighted the huge conflict of interest that arises when a CEO proposes a merger with another company they control. This new deal would be that same issue, but on a $1 trillion scale. Tesla currently trades at a price-to-earnings ratio north of 200. For comparison, other tech giants like Microsoft or Alphabet hover between 25 and 35. This massive premium makes valuing a fair price for the private companies incredibly difficult. Tesla's valuation is driven by public market hype and future promises, while the valuations for SpaceX and XAI are speculative bets made by private investors with limited financial data. As we said a while back, comparing SpaceX's hard tech balance sheet to software-first AI plays is like comparing apples and spaceships. When these two fundamentally different worlds collide in a merger, the risk is that the private valuations are proven to be inflated under public scrutiny, and it's the public Tesla shareholders who would bear the cost. The grand vision is an integrated empire where, as one investor noted, every single company he owns he sees as an integrated solution. The goal is for orbiting data centers to power AI-driven autonomous cars and humanoid robots on Earth. If one private corporate empire controls rocket launch, global satellite communications, orbital computing, and terrestrial robotics, it begins to wield power traditionally held only by nations. We saw a preview of this when Starlink became critical infrastructure in the Ukraine war, showing how a private company can influence geopolitics. A while back, we also broke down how US defense priorities are tilting towards space. The Pentagon's proposed Golden Dome missile defense concept and how China's latest 5-year plan targets leadership in satellite networks. SpaceX's military-focused Starshield program even landed a $1.8 billion contract to build a spy satellite network for a US intelligence agency. This vertical integration creates a new kind of power stack that challenges the very idea of national sovereignty, forcing governments to ask how they regulate an entity that is becoming a superpower in its own right. While a merger between his private companies, SpaceX and XAI, is a simple first step, absorbing Tesla into that vision presents a high-stakes financial challenge that pits a grand ambition against the realities of the public market. And zooming out, as we flagged amid expectations of a bumper year for tech listings, a blockbuster SpaceX listing could be a powerful catalyst for the entire sector, amplifying both the enthusiasm and the bubble risk across space tech. From corporate mega mergers to digital warfare, an expert on Iran just dropped a chilling warning. Anytime anyone sees a severe crackdown, like an internet shutdown, you know that it's going to be followed by violence. And that's exactly what's happening. In what is now the longest internet blackout in Iranian history, the regime has gone dark to conceal an unprecedented wave of state violence. Not all digital dictatorships work the same way. Iran's strategy is what experts call the kill switch approach, a total, brutal blackout. This is very different from China's Great Firewall, which is an always-on but heavily filtered system designed to control information without completely disrupting the economy. Iran's choice to use a kill switch shows a willingness to accept massive economic damage for the sole purpose of political control and hiding atrocities. The numbers are an absolute bombshell. The estimated death toll ranges from 3,000 to a staggering 30,000 people. Even the lowest official count makes this one of the bloodiest uprisings in modern history. This isn't the first time. During a week-long shutdown in 2019, the government massacred 1,500 people under the cover of digital silence. The Iranian people are fighting back in a high-tech cat-and-mouse game. They are so tech-savvy that the average citizen often has multiple VPNs on their phone, constantly switching between them to find a signal. When the shutdown was absolute, a new player changed the game. Starlink. An expert stated that when the blackout was complete, Starlink was really the only window we had into Iran. The demand is so high that smuggled terminals, which normally cost a few $100s, are selling for $2,000 on the black market. There's a paradox here. While Starlink is a lifeline, that high black market price creates what some are calling an activist elite. Access to this uncensored internet becomes a privilege for those who can afford it. This risks amplifying the voices of wealthier individuals while leaving poorer, often more oppressed regions unheard. The global story we hear might be skewed towards those with the money to buy their way online. The regime's response goes beyond just cutting access. They are flooding the internet with misinformation and using AI as a weapon. In one case, a powerful, authentic photo of a lone protester was enhanced with AI. Regime-backed accounts immediately used the AI artifacts to dismiss the verified image as AI slop from Zionists. In another, a deep-faked video showing Israel bombing a prison to free dissidents went viral, fooling even mainstream media outlets before it was debunked. This is a tactic that researchers call the lies dividend. The mere existence of AI fakes gives regimes plausible deniability to discredit real times evidence. Human rights organizations are developing new forensic tools. One of the most promising is an open standard called C2PA. Think of it like a digital birth certificate embedded in a photo or video. It cryptographically signs the file, showing where it came from and if it's been altered. Major players like Adobe, Microsoft, and the BBC are all getting behind this to restore trust in what we see online. It paints a horrifying picture summed up by one person's first-hand account of seeing water hoses washing blood off the streets. This digital war is no longer just about censorship. It's a battle to redefine connectivity itself. As one researcher put it, satellite internet offers a way to break the model of national control, creating a future where no government can simply flip a switch to hide a massacre. The next step is already on the horizon. The technology is called direct-to-cell satellite service. The goal is to let standard smartphones connect directly to satellites, bypassing local networks entirely. SpaceX is already partnering with mobile carriers like T-Mobile to make this happen. It represents a fundamental challenge to the nation-state's control over information. If anyone can connect directly to a global network from their pocket, the power of a government to enforce a digital blackout could be broken for good. Staying in the realm of tech giants making massive bets, Oracle just dropped a number that is an absolute bombshell, a plan to raise up to $50 billion this year. Their goal is to go all in on the AI gold rush. The immediate reaction? Investors got spooked and the stock dropped 4%. We previously analysed how investors have grown impatient with massive AI spend. Remember when Microsoft stock took a hit despite the OpenAI halo? The vibe is similar here, but with a twist. Oracle wants to fund much of this with debt. Oracle is building out its cloud infrastructure to meet crushing demand from a list of clients that reads like a who's who of tech titans, AMD, Meta, Nvidia, OpenAI, TikTok, and even XAI. Continuing our last discussion on big tech's independence playbook, this lines up with what we said about Meta a while back. Zuck doesn't want to be constrained by anyone else's tech, so a neutral provider becomes a strategic release valve. Many of these companies like OpenAI, XAI, and Meta are direct competitors to Google and Microsoft, so why would they build their most important projects on a rival's cloud? This is where Oracle's strategy comes in. They are positioning themselves as the Switzerland of AI, a neutral, powerful cloud provider where these competing giants can build their AI empires without feeding their biggest rivals. It allows these AI firms to diversify and reduce their dependence on any single platform. We previously analysed Microsoft's OpenAI first approach versus Meta's push for autonomy. Today, the focus shifts to how Oracle tries to monetize that desire for neutrality. Oracle is positioning itself to be the essential landlord for the entire AI revolution. It's not just about building more data centers. Oracle's cloud infrastructure, or OCI, has a specific technological advantage that AI companies crave. It's called RDMA networking. Think of it as a private, ultra-fast superhighway for data to travel between the thousands of GPUs needed to train a large AI model. This technology dramatically reduces latency, which is a critical bottleneck in AI development. This is a key differentiator that competitors can't easily replicate, making Oracle's cloud uniquely suited for these massive, power-hungry AI workloads. This is where the situation takes a more complex turn. While the demand is hot now, investors are concerned whether this surge in AI spending will actually generate sustained long-term profit. We mentioned a while back that investors had started demanding visible payoffs from AI infrastructure bets. Microsoft's latest cloud print didn't wow them, and Oracle is now running straight into that same scrutiny, only with a much larger financing overhang. There's a real risk of an industry-wide overbuild. Some analysts are drawing parallels to the fiber optic glut during the dot-com bust. Back then, companies laid massive amounts of fiber optic cable, assuming internet demand would grow forever, but they built too much, too fast. The resulting oversupply caused prices to crash and led to bankruptcies. The fear now is that if everyone rushes to build AI data centers, we could end up with a similar glut of computing power, leading to a brutal price war where no one, including Oracle, can get a good return on their massive investment. One investment director put it bluntly, stating the perception is that Oracle's fortunes are now heavily tied to OpenAI and that the nervousness about the situation looks unlikely to go away anytime soon. We previously detailed that 45% of Microsoft's cloud backlog is tied directly to OpenAI, an enormous concentration. That context matters because the market has already flagged how risky a single AI partner can be, even for cash-rich giants. And Oracle's perceived dependence is triggering the same alarm bells. This highlights a classic business problem, customer concentration risk. When so much of your future growth is tied to a single massive client, you're in a vulnerable position. What happens to Oracle's $50 billion bet if OpenAI decides to shift its strategy, maybe by developing its own custom chips or deepening its exclusive ties with Microsoft? That's the question, keeping investors up at night. And as we discussed before, Microsoft isn't just financially intertwined with OpenAI. It also holds a significant stake and has been working to diversify its exposure through other AI partners, underscoring how real and persistent this concentration risk is. This isn't just market jitters. The company is facing a recent bondholder lawsuit, and the cost to insure Oracle's debt against a potential default surged last year to its highest level in at least 5 years. The cost to insure Oracle's debt, measured by something called a credit default swap, has climbed significantly. This indicates that the market sees a higher risk in Oracle's strategy. As a comparison, cash-rich giants like Amazon and Google are also spending tens of billions on AI, but they are largely funding it from their massive cash reserves. Oracle, on the other hand, is taking on substantial debt to fuel its expansion, a much riskier path that has bondholders demanding more insurance against a potential downside. This highlights the real-world financial risk behind the AI hype. Analysts warn this massive financing plan simply buys time for Oracle's AI ambitions and could weigh on their profit margins for the foreseeable future. The real jaw dropper is the timeline. Projections show that despite this $50 billion investment, Oracle's free cash flow is unlikely to turn positive until 2029. Contrast that with Meta, which we highlighted as already translating AI into ad revenue growth north of 20% and calling the gains compounding. Oracle's bet is the opposite kind of story. A long debt-fueled ramp where the payoff, if it comes, lands years down the road. And that reminds me of another corporate giant making questionable strategic moves. When Meta announced it was buying the VR fitness app times Supernatural Asterisk, users had a chilling prediction. One beta tester recalls the reaction. Everyone was like, oh my God, kiss of death. That kiss of death is a well-known pattern in the tech world. It's sometimes called acqui neglect. This is when a tech giant buys a smaller beloved company and then just lets it wither on the vine. It's not about acquiring the talent, which is called an acqui-hire. It's about absorbing or neutralizing a potential competitor. We've seen Meta do this before. They acquired the acclaimed VR game studio, Ready at Dawn, only to lay off a third of its staff and eventually shut it down completely. That premonition is now a reality. Meta has halted all new content for time. Supernatural Asterisk, a move that has left its massive community feeling betrayed. This isn't your typical tech story. The game's fan base isn't the usual 18 to 34-year-old male demographic. Instead, its most loyal users are women, people over 50, and those with limited mobility who found a judgment-free lifeline for their physical and mental health. This isn't just a niche audience, it's a proven, loyal, and paying user base that could have driven the broader adoption of VR headsets beyond the typical young male gamer. So why would Meta fight regulators to buy this audience? Only to abandon it. It points to a massive strategic pivot inside the company. Meta is shifting its focus and billions of dollars away from VR and towards AI, leading to huge layoffs in its Reality Labs division, the very division responsible for Times. Supernatural Asterisk, the Times, Supernatural Times Facebook page has over 110,000 members, many of whom are now describing their shock and grief. They credit the game with helping them fight depression, recover from injuries, and form deep social bonds. One user says it's the only cardio exercise I do. This wasn't just any app. The Federal Trade Commission actually tried to block Meta from buying Supernatural Times in the first place, arguing the company was trying to monopolize the VR fitness market. Meta fought the probe and won, completing the acquisition in 2023. Now, after battling regulators to own the platform, it is effectively letting it die. This is the ultimate I told you so for government regulators. The Federal Trade Commission's entire argument was that Meta buying Supernatural Times would stifle competition in the VR fitness market. The court didn't agree, but now we're seeing the FTC's fears play out in slow motion. This is a classic case of what some call death by neglect. It's not an immediate shutdown, which is easy to see, but a slow strangling of a competitor that still harms the market and leaves consumers with fewer choices. It's a much harder problem for antitrust laws to solve. The community is in a state of what's being described as incandescent anger. One longtime user put it this way: I despise Meta along with the oligarchs, the top 1% that continue to destroy our world and kill anything that brings joy and beauty of human experience and connection because their only goal is to make a profit. That user's anger gets to a huge ethical question. It's about more than just one app. It raises the issue of digital landlordship. Are we, the users, just tenants on platforms owned by giant corporations? We build our communities, our routines, and in this case, our health regimens, but the corporate landlord can evict us at any time with no warning. When a service is tied directly to people's physical and mental well-being, the responsibility of the platform owner is so much greater. It forces us to ask if we can ever truly own the digital spaces we depend on. For other app developers watching, an early adopter offered a stark warning about selling to the tech giant. You might make a pile of money, but they're likely to mismanage and kill it.
That's it for today on Voyage Daily Tech. Follow, share, and stay tuned for daily updates coming your way tomorrow.